Either way, whatever the pleasure is, I would have no problem making a motion to defer next as well. Give her time to work through it.
Auditor. There are two outstanding bills.
I talked to Dave. He said he wasn't gonna be here today. He told me mostly he didn't have issues with what was from the court. He didn't say anything from the auditor, but I mean, I don't, is anybody here from?
One was received late for 3,000. The other one is, there was some, outstanding invoices. I don't recall. I know I received an email about that, but we'll have more on Tuesday. I know I didn't have an issue with that.
Okay.
And you were pleased to?
Yes. Yep.
The reporter? Morning. Morning all.
Good morning.
I let Councilman Winter know, I am on the agenda for a transfer from office supplies, to make a new line item in the amount of $5,000. Requesting this out of our general fund. The reason why I'm not asking out of our perpetuation fund is because that fund is solely for the preservation of records.
And what is it you're purchasing?
We're gonna be using that money just for cleaning supplies, so, all of the sanitary, sprays, the Windex wipes, the Clorox wipes, anything like that, just to clean the office.
Commissioners don't provide that for maintenance or?
No,
Oh,
we do still have a lot of public that comes into our office as well and public workspaces. So yes, we need those cleaning supplies and every day the employees will clean off the public workspaces, our counters, computers, etc.
I have no issues. I'm good.
Thank you
Thank
all.
you.
Thanks.
Your report? Anyone here, anyone online from your report? This is the one on their, drug solving. Go ahead, yeah.
If there isn't anyone on the line, I can handle this. They have received in the past 2 Indiana Supreme Court grants, 100% state funded advance. They couldn't spend it until they got a certification that they needed. They received that certification and have started spending, but they want to reappropriate the balance that was in their fund. I don't know if this was a matter that it wasn't included in their budget last year and they have to create the additional appropriations now. But I know they have some new line items, but they have this money on hand and they're allowed to appropriate it in this way. They're allowed to spend it, I should say, in this way.
I'm here from room 4.
Did you want to elaborate on this or?
Are you asking me?
Yes.
Yes, this was part of the grant that we had from last year, and this is the leftover amount. We're just asking for it to be transferred for this year so we can use it. So we're not asking for anything new. This is something we've already been granted. It's just what's the leftover amount that we need to appropriate and then be able to use.
Thank you. Any questions from anyone?
No.
Thank you, Jared. Superior Court, room 2.
We are requesting the creation of a new line, other supplies, and to be funded from office supplies for actually the same purposes as the recorder for cleaning supplies and masks. Thank you.
No.
Thank you.
Next. 40. Court, South Court. Next, other equipment, out of there. Federal. What has that on the hand?
Dave said he was okay with it.
Elections. Morning. Good morning.
This is for the appropriation for the grant, which we've presented to you what our finished product was. We're very pleased with it. We did a presentation on it yesterday before the Northern District Clerks Association, well received. And it will be very helpful for the upcoming election. So this will be for the appropriation.
So for the appropriation, to, there, they used to have an administrator on the office. It's a reimbursement, they reimburse them outside. So. Run through that, professional printing, I can tell you, I think it's worth it. Thankfully, we were able to get the grant money to do it, so we weren't coming to you guys for it. But I think I'm gonna do it. And our second item is, we do this every election, we've been going for that, it's funny when we do it. Home workers that didn't cash their paycheck. And now they found it months later, you know, fell behind the desk, whatever, and so now. I know, it's, they real on us pretty hard that they want their paychecks quickly, but then we always had, I think we had like 80 from the last one that they lost their, you know, tax and they're asking for them to be reissued
And I think you'll have more even next month. It's really sad though, when you talk to some of them, and one of them was a senior citizen, and she's like, it fell between my wall and my countertop, and I was just too embarrassed because I felt stupid to say that I had messed up and lost it, and they just forego and didn't do it. And then we're like tracking down some checks, and she's, you know, God bless you. Thank you so much. I'm so happy. And I just felt, you know, she felt bad. And we're like, no, don't ever feel bad. We all like pour coffee on a check or something and mess up and just call us up and we can get it fixed. Preferably in the same year though.
It's too bad we can't do like automatic payment to their account, like.
Oh,
that would
they,
be fantastic.
they don't want to,
We would love that.
they don't want to give us their social security numbers. If you think they're giving us their bank account number, that's just not going to happen. I would love it too, but I just don't think it, I don't think they would let it go.
They did give their phone numbers on the form that.
They ask for them, we've had people recent lately that they don't want to provide them.
We've actually got 2 checks, I think, still downstairs in the safe for people that won't provide us their social security number. And so they're being held downstairs. We're like, when you give it to us, the check is ready to go for you, but it's difficult.
Any questions?
No.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you very much.
Planning commission?
Good morning. We've got 2 items. One is the first one is ordinance number 2570. It's a request that was made to the Planning Commission for a distribution center in the southwest quadrant of I-65, and State Road 2 comes to you. The zone change comes to you with a unanimous recommendation to change it all to B3. I believe Councilman Niemeyer was president, was one of the supporters of the ordinance. The second is an ordinance to amend the UDO. There were 2 sections inadvertently left out from the original zoning ordinance, one regarding fill on people's property and the other regarding excavation of people's property. We're just looking to add those to the new UDO. That comes to you with a positive recommendation from the Planning Commission with a vote of 6-0.
All good? All good.
I just
Thank
had
you.
one question, Ned, real quick, if I could. Contractors Licensing Board, we have a vacancy. It will be on next month's agenda.
I don't know that. Usually, when Terry goes there, she usually automatically puts those on. I don't know how you handle those.
Okay.
I thought it was on last month's agenda. Thought I saw something, I could be wrong. Thought I saw something on last month. So I'll look into it and,
If you can give me a text, yeah.
usually you guys just appoint who was sitting for, but I don't know.
I think there's a vacancy.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, let me take a look and I'll look at the ordinance to see that the right person is appointed, because I think it boiled down to some of the trades. There's an electrician, plumber, yeah. So I'll let you. That'd be great. Thank you.
Highway.
Highway department, you're anxious.
Morning.
We're here today asking for an additional appropriation in the cumulative bridge fund. $750,000 for design and right-of-way acquisition in 63190 and 1,250,000 in construction. We have 4 bridge projects that, as you're aware, bridge projects can take years. We start with the design phase and then move to construction. That will be going through various phases this year. Bridge 363 over Kennedy Avenue over the Harbor Belt Railroad is probably the furthest along. You will see this handout that I laid on your desk. In 2022, we awarded the design and right-of-way acquisition to Lockmiller for $344,000. There's been a glitch with bringing over the Lawson system into Oracle. Data processing has told us we can no longer draw on this old PO. They ask us to void it and create a new one in Oracle. So there's roughly 220,000 left on this purchase order, which is part of this, I guess, reappropriation to cover this. And then the other projects that will be going out, Bridge 103 on Arizona Avenue over Deep River, that will be a total reconstruction. Bridge 50 on 153rd Avenue over Cedar Creek will be a total, will be a rebuild, and then there'll be a reconstruction of Bridge 259 over 45th Avenue. All those projects we would like to keep or get rolling. I do not want to mislead the council. I am the finance manager for the highway department. I can see my part of the Cume Bridge Fund. I've consulted with Larry Blanchard and Scott Small. I'm told the surplus is there. I have not seen it with my eyes, so I just wanted you to be aware of that.
I have maybe it's a comment, but a bridge project that was completed last year included a plaque with like the names of all of us on it. I can't speak for everyone here. I don't like that stuff. I find it to be very tacky, and it's a taxpayers funded bridge. It doesn't need my name on it. So there's just a comment that I had. I don't know what the traditions are. I've only been here a couple of years now. So it's one of those things that a constituent sent it to me, and I'm like, oh, I can never stand putting my name on something that's taxpayer funded.
I will pass that on to my superiors there.
Yeah. I can't speak.
My understanding is tradition is that the commissioners and the county
Just me as
members.
one man speaking.
But I know when the project's done, Dwayne goes out and has the plaque created, and I always have to double check everybody's spelling. So if you guys don't want the plaques, I'm sure we can, work on.
It just,
I will pass
it's
that
my own
on.
personal feelings. I can't speak for anyone else.
And I will have Dwayne, I will ask him to consult with you before we put any more plaques up there.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I went to the selfie by it.
You take a selfie? Good. Yeah. Post it everywhere. That'd be fine. Put
The Dan Carden Bridge.
Put Dan Carden's name on there. It's perfect.
Usually the contractor pays for that. It comes, the contractors usually do it. I know the Third Street Bridge in Hobart, it wasn't the city of Hobart that did it. It was the contractor. They built the bridge and they just put it in there, the bridge dedication. This is part of the team that was involved with the development and procurement of this. But I think you could always just opt to have anything like Mr. Brown said. That's opt out.
Yeah, that'd be good.
Now, Lake County Prosecutor, Warren Jacob.
I have a few things on the agenda today. The first is to create 4 new line items and appropriate them in our gun safety education and safety lot fund. As of right now, we've received $8,500 in donations. So that's what the appropriations worked out to. As we gain more, I'll probably be back asking for additional appropriations.
Any questions on that?
The second is for approval to apply for a grant application This application is additional funding for our ATS grant in the amount of $33,807.84.
All good? Okay, yeah, it's good.
Yes, I recommend approval.
Okay.
And then the last couple is to create an ordinance for 9 new supplemental positions in our fund 8295. These are to help out our fund 4428. Last year when I was going through our budget balances, it appears that Oracle is combining our 4428 fund and the clerks, which made me think we had a much larger balance. So this is just to try to help relieve some of the stress, try to get that fund back up. And then next year we'll be moving stuff back over to 4428.
And so my only question was, obviously emailed you back about that. So we're appropriating, funds that are coming out of a different fund, but what did you say in regards to reducing it on the 4428 fund? That's something that we don't necessarily do. That's something you do.
Correct, yes. That fund is a non-council control fund. So I will just email Leah a letter and she'll reduce the appropriations.
Gotcha. I guess I've never heard of that before. How does that work? A non-council control fund?
On the 4D funds, they don't require council appropriation.
Gotcha, but we still set the budget for that?
That's only on the incentive side.
Yeah, it's
Yes.
Okay,
And I believe that's through the state statute.
okay.
And then the appropriations are just for the supplemental pay, the FICA perk, travel, registration, lodging, and then maintenance and service contracts.
Questions?
So Donald, were you working on a substitute name for supplemental pay? So
You don't like it?
no, not, and I thought we had gotten rid of that. And I thought it was recommended by the State Board of Accounts that we not use the terminology supplemental pay.
I'm not aware.
I would either, Mr. Brown, I was not aware, but it is what it is. It is supplemental pay.
But there was a lengthy discussion, I know, during my first year about
Always.
this.
Yeah, that was probably, I think, was it Senator Durnell that had an issue maybe with the name? But it's supplemental pay. I mean, you can call it what you want, but it's supplemental pay.
I will
I
not,
do recall lengthy conversations about.
I will
supplemental
not
pay.
bring it up again.
Okay, thank you. All right, any other questions?
Thank you.
Thank you. Community corrections. Good morning.
Morning.
Hey again, Joy. Kelly?
Go ahead and have George.
Okay, so for community corrections, we have.
We have the gentleman identify himself.
Yes, my name is George Ficker. I work for the Community Corrections Department, Budget and Personnel Manager. Previously, formerly worked for the County Council Office, familiar with everyone up here, and it's good to see you all today.
Face was familiar.
So we have 4 requests on the agenda plus a presentation by Jean Ann Ficker. The first item 16A is just a resolution to pay 2 outstanding 2023 invoices/debts with the 24 budget totaling $1,034.35. The invoices with respect to this resolution is for AT&T Mobility. These are Apple devices distributed among staff members, executive staff, custody officers, case managers to perform their daily operations. This invoice is in a total amount of $803 with the telephone line item out of our project income fund. The second invoice associated with the resolution is Comcast Cable Corporation. This is for Wi-Fi within the facility, and it's for $231.35. It's being paid out of our maintenance and service contract line item out of project income, which is a user fee fund that's used to pay on top of our grant programs. Speaking of the grant programs, we have our 3 grant applications. It's important to note that all of these grants are advanced grants, 100% funded with no local match. They're all renewals of existing grant programs within community corrections. The first one through the Indiana Department of Corrections, which is the Community Corrections and Justice Reinvestment, CCJR grants for the fiscal year of 25. This is the primary source for 6 different programs. It's has an estimated budget of $4.3 million. The programs associated with this grant is work release, electronic monitoring, community transition court, therapeutic intervention court, veterans court, and drug court. We also have another state-funded grant, Indiana Supreme Court Office of Court Services. This is for our problem-solving courts. And those problem-solving courts have funding for community transition court, therapeutic intervention court, drug courts, and the grant is with a total of $30,000. It's important to note that Veterans Court is going to be applying for their own problem-solving court. That's Lake Superior County Division 3 Cantrell's courtroom. And for the third and final application we have, this is the Supporting Addiction-Free Environments Safe Collaboration. This is administered by Geminis. That's a nonprofit, non-governmental grant program, and it's for a total amount of $2,250,000. It spans across the fiscal year, so it's going to start July 1, 24, and span until June 30th of 25. And before we move on to our presentation, do any council members have any questions with respect to the request in the agenda?
Nope.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Good morning. My name is Jean Ann Ficker. I'm the county's grants manager. The Adult Community Corrections Program is presenting their 2020 Indiana Department of Corrections Community Corrections and Justice Reinvestment Grant application for your approval. And I thought it might be helpful because to give a little background, this grant program is not like other grant programs we have. This grant program is a partnership between the Indiana Department of Corrections and Lake County government. Each party to that partnership has responsibilities. In fact, if the Adult Community Corrections Department or the county didn't want to renew for 2024, it would require a resolution by the county to sever this partnership. Now, if any other grant program doesn't want to renew, it's no big deal. But this is an established partnership. This is just not a grant program. It dates back to the 1980s when criminal justice reform researchers and public officials realized and agreed that there were more effective methods to rehabilitate certain offenders than locking them up in state correctional facilities. What is the nature of this partnership, you might ask? Well, I'm going to tell you if you don't care. I'm going to refer to Indiana Code 11-12-2.2. And the purpose of the grant program, this Community Corrections Justice Reinvestment Grants, which is what they're called now, for the purpose of encouraging counties to develop a coordinated local corrections-criminal justice system and providing effective alternatives to imprisonment at the state level, the IDOC commissioner shall, out of funds appropriated by the Indiana General Assembly for such purposes, make grants to counties for the establishment and operation of community corrections programs and court-supervised recidivism reduction programs. The responsibility within this partnership, the obligation the state has, is to provide money. That money comes in the form of 100% state-funded advance grants. The Indiana Department of Corrections, last May, you probably don't remember because we present so many applications. Last May, the Adult Community Corrections Program presented its application for this 2024 round of funding. It was approved. In October, the Adult Community Corrections Department came back to have the council create 6 new grant funds required by the IDOC. And now we have 12. We have the odd numbered year fund and the even numbered year fund, all at the direction of the Indiana Department of Correction. But this is, based on my knowledge, this is the largest state-funded grant Lake County has. They're going to provide $4 million, 100% state, advanced by the month. What are the obligations of the county in this partnership I've described? Well, the county has a lot of responsibilities, and there's a lot of code addressing it, and I'm going to spare you that. But relevant to this council, under the grant is technically awarded to the Community Corrections Advisory Board, on which Councilman Linda Mulder serves. The county executive and county fiscal body shall provide necessary assistance and appropriation to the Community Corrections Advisory Board for that county. The appropriations required under this section are department grants, user fees, and other funds contained in the approved plan. When I read this, I see this as this is the Board of Commissioners is required to provide assistance. The Adult Community Corrections uses the old Lake County Convalescent Home building. That's where their offices are. That's where they conduct their programming. That's where the folks who are serving in their program reside. The county council is required to provide the appropriations to allow the program to spend the $4 million. That's my take on this. I see this as the responsibility of the county as part of that partnership. There was some emailing that went on last week between the finance director about one of those resolutions to pay prior year expenses that we just discussed. And the finance director asked, why do we have to approve their resolution to pay a prior year expense when this is a non-council controlled fund? And I would like to make clear, I've been waging a campaign since I've been here in 2016. A non-council controlled fund merely means that it is a non-council appropriated fund. Any department that has a non-council controlled fund, they don't have to come to you for appropriations for their budget, but if they want to create a grant fund, they come to you. If they need a resolution to submit to their grant giving agency, they have to come back to the council. If they want to purchase something, they have to use the county's procurement process. It's a very limited designation, but I've had to educate grant managers when we have those county grant forms that come before the council. When I started, I had departments argue with me, well, we're a council non-controlled fund. We don't have to get council permission to apply for a grant. And no. You don't get council appropriation, but you follow all the rules of any other fund in conducting business here at the county. That's a very limited designation. And I've been trying person by person to promote the use of the term non-council appropriated fund versus non-council controlled fund, because it gives this impression that the council doesn't have control over things. And I think that was sort of the genesis of this email. Why does the council need to approve something, a resolution for adult community corrections when we don't control their funds? And this was elevated to the State Board of Accounts. The State Board of Accounts provided the same Indiana Code 11-12-2 that I did, but the State Board of Accounts says adult community corrections has to have council appropriations approved. And late Friday afternoon, there was an email from the finance director to adult community corrections saying that they had to change their appropriations process based on this email thread to, adult community corrections had to have the full-blown council control appropriation process. And the only reason I found out about this is because my son works in adult community corrections and he told me. I wasn't read in on any of these emails. George mentions it to me and say, well, that's wrong. That's my gut reaction. That's wrong because in a almost 40-year-old project, if adult community corrections had been required to go through the full appropriations process for all their expenditures, they would have been written up before now. The Indiana Department of Corrections audits this program. State Board of Accounts audits this program. They would have been instructed, hey, you need to go this route. 4 o'clock on Friday afternoon, where I'm finding out about this. They only found out a little bit earlier. And I told George, don't worry. I'll do my research. I'll figure out what is actually involved. And what I did was research. I went to State Board of Account bulletins because remember, I'm approaching this as those appropriations, the council's required to do them. It's not adult community corrections it's not able to spend their money without the necessity of a council appropriation. So I'm coming at this differently. But the guidance that I found from the State Board of Account bulletin is the grant agreement. The grant agreement contains approved budgets for each of the programs. By statute, the council must also approve the appropriation. Like, okay, I'm still in that's not clear to me. I go to the Indiana Department of Corrections, Community Corrections, and Reinvestment Grants Manual, and it reads the contract between the county and the Community Corrections Advisory Board. The contract is under the administration of the advisory board and approved by the county fiscal body. Okay, well, what does that mean? That doesn't tell me. Typically, you see language, disbursements from this fund do not require the necessity of an appropriation by the fiscal body in a non-council controlled fund. That's exactly what the language states for the Title 4D incentive grants. At the other end, the State Board of Accounts says disbursements of these funds require appropriations by the fiscal body. And we had to deal with all the American Rescue Plan. It was all advanced. We had to get the appropriation. On Monday morning, I contacted the State Board of Accounts. I spoke with the same individual with whom the finance director had his email exchange. And she told me she understood this partnership that I spoke of. And she said, community corrections is in a gray area. It's not non-council controlled. It's not fully council controlled. It's in a gray area. And I was like, well, tell me what the appropriations requirement process is. That's what I want to know. What do they need to do? And she said, the simple act of the county council, the county council approving this grant agreement green lights the appropriations for the 6 different programs for whom the IDOC has provided detailed budgets in the agreement. And I said, okay. And then she said, the next step is once the grant application is approved or the grant agreement is approved, adult community corrections can, just like any non-council approved, non-council appropriated fund, go to the auditor's office to set the appropriations, is the term she used, in the financial system. So I wanted to provide that background because understandably, there is some confusion. The State Board of Accounts, and I agree on the relevant language. I take a different interpretation of it than maybe they do. But for that reason, if this grant agreement is on the agenda next Tuesday, and on behalf of the Adult Community Corrections Program, I would recommend that it be approved so they can spend that $4 million, 100% state funded, all advanced to the county.
So you're saying this is an application, so you're saying in the
This is
application,
an agreement.
This is our 20.
oh,
The council already approved their application with a full budget in it back on, I believe it was May 9.
on the
2023.
reinvestment grant renewal?
This is
Presentation.
the
Item 15.
presentation.
It's listed underneath applications, but
Oh,
I-
that's.
It's an
the grant.
award. It's a grant, it's listed as grant application and approval, but this is the award approval,
And
which is
when,
required.
when did the advisory board voted on that, right? Or,
The contract was awarded to the advisory
Yes,
board.
this is the one that's already been awarded.
the,
well, this is for fiscal year 2024 grant agreement.
Yeah,
Okay,
which we only nailed down I think heretofore we've thought this was a non-council controlled fund. And it's been conducted as such, but through this, the State Board of Accounts has said the grant agreement has to be approved. It's not just the grant application, it's not just the funds being created for next year, the grant agreement. So every year in the future, they will be bringing their grant application to you, just like they plan to do on Tuesday to renew the IDOC funding. And then once the grant agreement is provided, they will come back to get council approval of the actual grant agreement with the full budget provided by the Indiana Department of Corrections.
But are there changes made annually in the agreement?
I can't speak to that.
Yeah, each year there are modifications, yes, they're not the same each year.
Who does the evaluation of the services, these grants?
DOC and our Community Corrections Association, they have the Indiana Association of Community Corrections.
I mean, is there actual evaluation saying X amount of services were provided to X amount of clients?
Yes. Yes, we have audits, assessments, and then every other year. From different sources. Service audits and fiscal audits completely.
Tom, do you have anything you want to add?
Yeah, this is, this did create, as Jan pointed out, a lot of email traffic back and forth. And in fact, the Community Correction Board's attorney rendered an opinion that they do have to come to council for appropriations. And I don't know if this is.
But
we can talk about Windsor Williams.
Yeah.
He concurred with State Board of Accounts, with the Indiana code presented to them, which that is essentially what Jean Ann is saying. She agrees with State Board of Accounts too, just not the interpretation that the finance director had with respect to the budget.
So their board's attorney says that he believes that it has to be appropriated to the council. So I've got the statute if everybody wants to read it.
Homework.
Yeah, and I've got a copy for everyone. And then, of course, because the statute can't simply be clear, it goes on to say in another division of the statute, what the board's responsibility is. And it says that the board is, the advisory board is responsible. Well, I'll give you this one too. The fund, it says, a community corrections fund is established in each community having a community corrections program. This is 11-12-212. The fund shall be administered by the Community Corrections Advisory Board in accordance with rules adopted by the department. The expenses of administering the fund shall be paid with money in the fund in the end has to be incurred. The fund consists of fees deposited. Money in the fund shall be used for provision of community corrections program services. So when you read the first statute that I sent, that I provided to everybody, it specifically uses the language that it shall be appropriated by the county fiscal body. So that's where the confusion arose. So Scott and I have been talking about it behind the scenes also, saying, hey, what does the State Board of Accounts say? And I think the opinion there's two different opinions, it sounds like, from the State Board of Accounts, even still. So as a wise, attorney that sat in this for 40 years tells me it's better to over legislate and what we're, this discussion that we're having right now I don't know why the grant agreement wouldn't be approved by the commission instead of us.
Because the council accepts grants on behalf of Lake County and is a fiscal body. And I think that because the grant agreement includes the budgets.
Yeah, but then it's signed by the auditor, which is strange. So, but I'm sure we've always done it that way. So, this may be like I don't want to use an old man word, but like a tempest in a teapot here that, maybe there's really not a beef, but it created a little heat over the last week. So,
But Tom, what did the State Board of Accounts say?
Scott's the one that spoke to them.
Yeah. Scott, are you online?
Yeah, I'm online. So I guess what's the question is what the State Board of Accounts said. So their first response was the statute Tom passed out, indicating the fiscal body has to approve appropriations. And then subsequent to that, I had follow-up conversations with them, and they pointed out that, actually, I could just read the response. Let me pull it up. Basically, the council is supposed to review the grant applications and review the budget. So if the budget's in the grant itself, that's kind of one and the same thing. And that would be good practice, but the council wouldn't be able to have the opportunity to change those appropriations that are in the grant. So it sounds like both answers require council review and approval. The mechanism for the approval sounds like it could be up for debate. Meaning, is reading the grant enough to be considered a review? Or do they need to, they being community corrections, do they need to follow the procedures in Lake County where departments fill out a Form 3, request appropriations, and then have them approved? That's the debate.
I specifically asked, excuse me, Scott, I specifically asked Ricky Hofer, who was the person who I spoke with, who was the individual involved. And I said, do they have to do Form number 3s? And she said, because the Indiana Department of Corrections provides a detailed budget, there was no need for a second appropriations process at the local level. There was no need for a Form number 3. So, and she said that when I first spoke with her, she said, this is a gray area, which is where I was at when I started doing my research. This is neither a non-council controlled fund or not a fully council controlled fund.
And I think
the spirit of my questions, Jean Ann, and I guess I'm the finance director. You and your son George keep referencing. You can just say my name is Scott.
I'm being formal.
Again,
but I think
my spirit of the question was to ensure that we are following the right procedures. That's it. And it seems more alarming to me, the defensive reaction that I've been receiving from yourself and George when I'm just asking a question to make sure we're being transparent and following the appropriate procedures. I did ask the State Board of Accounts for their opinion, and they've given that opinion to me, and I've shared that with everybody that's been on those emails.
I want to say
that I never demanded, and as you portrayed, that I demanded a change in your practice. That was never the thought. It was a discussion after your attorney for the community corrections responded with basically agreement with the State Board of Accounts saying, look at the statute. It says you need to have an appropriation. That was it. I was having conversations offline, if you will, behind the scenes. I didn't know that this would become such a circus that it's now become, which is fine. I mean, we need to have these discussions out in the open and in public, but to debate about a question that I asked, you know, is, I don't know. It's just the way your guys' response makes me a little more less trusting in your processes. I mean, why would we not want to err on the side of transparency? I mean, that's basically what I'm saying. And even the DLGF, I reached out to them. I said, what's the process for community corrections? Because every other department, every other dollar that we spend at the county, whether it's a budget or an appropriation, requires an advertisement of at least 10 days notice to the public. I'm not aware of a process where there's an advertisement for these appropriated dollars. So my intellectual curiosity started asking questions.
Yeah, I know when Scott sent the first email out, his question was, well, why are they even on our agenda? Because to his knowledge, we didn't approve budgets. We didn't approve their budget, so why do we have to approve this resolution for them to spend? It was a simple, it wasn't asking more of you, wasn't questioning what it was just why are they on our agenda? And then, George responded with his response that it's a process that we use, required by the auditor. I don't remember. I'm not, you know, quoting you or anything. So, right. So then, and then it went to an opinion from the State Board of Accounts. I think I'm with this, where Tom said, I think he was speaking about Ray. You didn't use his name, but yeah, what's the,
Being formal.
what is wrong with just,
Why don't-
what is wrong with the transparency and how much more work is it to fill out a Form 3 or for us to advertise? I don't
The only,
understand. I mean,
I have a Master of Public Administration. It's like a MBA, but it's in the public sector. And part of it's over a 30-year career in government. It's the responsibility of government to accomplish what it has to accomplish without becoming bureaucratic. And I would say, if the State Board of Accounts, the guidance that I received is that the council can approve the grant agreement. It includes the detailed budgets that were developed by the Indiana Department of Corrections to force this department or any department to do unnecessary procedures, which I think that was why Scott asked the question in the first place. Why do we have to approve the resolution? Because he considered that an unnecessary procedure. He doesn't want to over bureaucratize the system. I don't want to over bureaucratize the system either. We're talking about $4 million across 6 programs. There's not $1 of state money, of local money spent on this. If the State Board of Accounts isn't requiring the county to do the full appropriations, then why is the county? I mean, I'm the grant manager for Lake County. I advocate on behalf of the council and the county when I'm dealing with grant giving agencies. And I advocate on behalf of the grant managers to make sure, and that's why I contacted them. What is this process? Because I agree with Tom. I wish the legislation said, and the Indiana General Assembly is happy to say disbursements of these funds require the appropriation by the fiscal body. And they're happy to say in those limited instances, disbursements of these funds do not require the necessity of an appropriation. And the State Board of Accounts, I thought it was confusing. The language is vague. And the State Board of Accounts said, well, we're in a gray area. And we're in a gray area because of this partnership, this longstanding, almost 40-year-old partnership. So, I mean, I would recommend the council approve the grant agreement.
when is the deadline for for all of that to go? For what is the deadline? Because there seems to be.
There is no deadline.
There is no deadline. Okay.
There is no deadline.
So I've got another question then.
Yes.
Is 100% of the funding for community corrections grant sourced?
No, the agreement.
No. Okay.
It's
Okay,
project
so
income, which is fees charged by participants. I included that in my recommendation.
So there's user fee funds within community corrections, correct? Is that a fair statement that you have user fee sourced
Yes.
funding?
Yes,
And what's the process to appropriate money for user fees?
it's in the grant agreement.
So the grant agreement is appropriating the money for the user fee funds?
Yes.
Based on the established Indiana Department of Corrections budget.
Madam President, may I recommend that we ask Tom O'Donnell to convene a meeting of both Scott and the community corrections folks to iron out these differences. We're spending a lot of time on something that we should not be spending time on. And this is all should be in-house, not out to the atmosphere. Why can't the three of them or four of them sit down and hammer this thing out and bring back recommendations to us?
I agree.
I agree with Charlie. Thank you, Charlie. And that was my point. I don't know why this has been brought to the public in a circus the way it has when we're debating and
Because-
asking questions.
It's my understanding the grant agreement requires the council's approval based on the guidance I received from the State Board of Accounts.
Well, it
there
sounds like you all are talking to different people even at the State Board of Accounts. I mean, and this just, why can't we just?
It's the same person for the state food accounts. We have to reach out to additional sources that Scott Schmall has seen in those correspondences.
Okay, so we can move on. Is there any other council member that has anything to add?
I think,
No.
I think if they work it out,
Yeah,
and then
Scott.
we'll go from there.
Yes, Scott might can move with.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Sure.
Thank you.
Now, is this to be done prior
I
to
don't know that we do.
Tuesday's meeting?
Yeah, I don't
Yeah.
know.
Yeah, let's meet
Please.
tomorrow. Is everybody available tomorrow?
Are you available tomorrow? Yes, Kelly's available.
Okay, 9 a.m., my office.
9,
Can you do 9 a.m., Tom?
Can we meet in the small conference room?
too many people.
Council office, sure.
We're checking Tom's schedule.
Is it possible to do 8 o'clock,
Ooh, Tom.
like it by Zoom? Like
Yeah,
by
sure.
Zoom?
We could do WebEx, yeah.
Okay, yeah, if we could set up for an 8 o'clock, that would work better. Scott, are you okay with 8?
Is it 8 o'clock?
I don't know, yeah.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
And that's by Zoom? Or those that want to be present in Scott's office at 8 a.m.?
Well, we can't have
Potato.
Yeah, no, it can't be.
It can only be one council person.
What's this? Like, fancy position.
Okay, next, sorry, Parks.
I won't be there at 8 o'clock.
We could do later. We could do later.
What time are we actually settling on?
We could do Monday or Friday, and we can do later, whatever works.
I am totally slammed tomorrow. Let me look at my Monday real quick.
Hey, we getting maple syrup?
Before Tuesday.
You guys getting maple syrup?
It's pretty much done.
I'm good Monday.
We're gonna be faking it this weekend. Monday would be better for me. If we could do 1 o'clock, I could be here.
1 o'clock, we got nothing.
1 o'clock on Monday. How does that work for everyone?
I can't make Monday, but you guys can still talk and I'll follow up.
Monday at 1 then.
All right, Scott, I'll come to your office.
Okay, Monday, what time?
All right. 1 o'clock.
1 o'clock. All right, perfect.
Yes. Okay, administrative services, Parks and Recreation.
Yes, we're requesting the creation of a fund to deal with the food and beverage tax enacted by the town of Maryville. It's a 1% tax. It would affect two of our properties, Turkey Creek and Deep River Water Park. Turkey Creek has a concessionaire, so that's on them. We're set up to collect it, disperse it, but we need a fund to deal with that, just like we deal with sales tax. And so we're asking you to create this fund. We'll be back next month for an appropriation. And it's sort of it's not just Maryville that we're dealing with at this point. We've left it open in case anybody else does a food and beverage tax in the future. I know Hammond has one that doesn't affect us. We have Gibson and we don't prepare food up there and sell food. So it's sort of
Like Etta though.
No,
Like Etta vendor.
We have a vendor, but it's not in Maryville. It's in Gary.
I mean, in the future, if they.
In the future, I mean, what if the council wants to enact the food and beverage tax across the county? That, but you may not want to go there, but you know, and I think professionally, the nice thing about Maryville is all their money is going to parks and recreation to support their programs and improve the quality of life in their town. It just,
Great idea.
Maryville started, Hammond's following suit. I gotta believe that
Others will.
others will. I mean, and it requires, the state to enact legislation to allow that. So anyway, I would ask for approval. It's just something we gotta do to pay the tax.
I support.
Okay.
And maple syrup this weekend and next. I'm sorry, I forgot to bring marketing, pieces, but I'll take care of that next time.
My recollection is the last year you might have forgotten the attorneys.
Is that your recollection? To the best of your recollection, sir. Did you have something, Ted? All right, thank you all. Take care.
you. Health Department.
Oh, yeah, this one.
Morning, Nick.
Okay, yes, we have to have an ordinance to pay some supplemental pay to our seven food inspectors. I know Charlie wouldn't bring it up anymore, but,
Called it something else.
well,
I said, I would, now, anybody else is free to do that, but I will not mention supplemental pay.
so this is coming from our Health First Indiana funds. And is to put those inspectors kind of what the state average is for that job in the counties that are greater than 250,000 populated. So we're just trying to get their payout because we're going to hire 2 additional inspectors to work with them. And it'll make it easier if we get a pay that's commensurate to what the things they do. So, I thought we had this done because the council approved the budget last month with the state calls it stipend. But county calls it supplemental pay, but it's in our budget to do this. But when we went to do it, we found out we had to have job code and stuff created for the position. So that's what the ordinance does.
I support that.
Any questions?
Just one thing, Nick, immediately following this meeting, we're meeting on the vertical farms, have some information for you. We'll be in my office with Jean Ann and Robert, immediately following this meeting.
Okay.
So if you could attend or if you could be there, it would be awesome. If not, on what I have, I can leave for you for review, but questions and guidelines on what we're doing could be answered immediately following this. I thought we would have been done a little earlier, but we were planning on 11, but a little bit later.
I have one question, something for thought. This is where supplemental pay sometimes becomes an issue, is that right now you're using monies that are non-general. And you give this additional pay, but then the grant goes away, that funding goes away. And then it's, well, the employee, then we have to increase the budget next year because the funding went away, and this is now what they expect their salary to be. So it's just food for thought. Okay, thank you. All right, Lados, grants, Jean-Ann, I don't know if somebody.
Yes, good morning, Madam Chair. Members of the
Good
council.
morning.
This is Amanda from Lados Division 2, and I'm here today to ask for your approval to apply for 2 grants. The first being the Indiana Department of Corrections Court Recidivism Reduction Program for the amount of $66,480. And the second grant being the SAFE grant, Supporting Addiction-Free Environments, and the amount of $20,900. And this will be the 4th year for the SAFE grant and the 8th year that we'd be applying for Department of Corrections.
They require matching funds.
No, this is an advanced grant, no matching funds. Both of them.
All right, any other questions? Jean-Ann, anything you add?
No.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next we have economic development. Morning, Tim.
Good morning. No pay issues on these. No bureaucracy either, it's just HUD.
See your revised one.
So
there's no
there's no bureaucracy at all. So we should be good.
No stipend.
This is, no stipends, yeah. This is our annual request for our grants, the community block grant, CDBG, and then our home grant. We've been doing these since the eighties, so it's been quite a while for both these. Although home hasn't been around since only the nineties, but CDBG has been around since the eighties here in the county. Approximately 1.2 to 1.3 million in CDBG, anywhere between 650 to 710,000 at home. Now, if you know, they just passed the Federal Appropriations Act for transportation, which includes HUD. I have no idea how much it got reduced, but I'm pretty sure there's a reduction. That's why I put these things high, so that when we come back and actually do the actual budgets later, for this fall, that it'll be the exact number that's in that grant. But I always want to get these grants done early because I have a schedule to keep with HUD to get all this stuff in. That's why the numbers are a bit high. But I'm pretty sure they'll both be a little bit lower by the time we get done. So that covers the two grants. And the other one is related to we lost our accountant. We're going to internally move somebody up. She's only been here for a year and a half. And as far as I'm concerned, I think it's important to do pay level based not only on experience, but how long you've been here. And the previous person that was here for a number of years. So that's why we're looking at a slight reduction in the pay level for the new person that's moving in. She's accepted that pay level, just a matter of getting it approved, and then we can move her into the slot at the end of the month and we should be done. That's all I have. It's real simple.
Any questions? Great, thank you.
Thank you all. Take care. Oh, I'm gonna stick around for the Veterans Memorial thing too, because if there's questions related to that.
Your courtroom 3. Good morning.
Reapplying for a grant for 2025. This grant is it's $9,890. It's for a part-time mentors coordinator for the Veterans Board. Talked with Jean Ann and I think it's pretty straightforward. Looking for approval.
The county sheriff. Good morning.
Anastasia, I am requesting to renew the Bldg grant for the Sheriff's Department for the 2024-2026 season.
Any questions? Are you new on the, no? Oh, okay.
Just every 2 years I have to come in, so.
Oh, okay, that's fine. All right.
Madam Chair, the sheriff doesn't have anything else on the agenda. I do have one question, and I'd like to request that we have an executive session Tuesday prior to the county council meeting. I was made aware that the collective bargaining agreement, there was a offer made, rejected, counter offer made, and now a pending mediation. And I think that qualifies for an executive session. I'd like to know if we can meet prior to Tuesday council meeting to try to resolve that.
Anything else? All right, thank you. All right, fairground, juvenile detention center.
Morning.
Morning.
We were asked to apply for the grant. U.S. Department of Agriculture, by the Indiana State Department of Agriculture, 2023 Resilient Food System Infrastructure Grant. We're looking to buy some special equipment. We already do our flower farm area and vegetable area in the back of the juvenile center, and we're looking to augment what we do. Looking to buy a walk-in refrigerator that will help us store some of the food that we, the vegetables that we fish from our garden we do already, just to help it last a little bit longer. So we can distribute it to food bank, to churches, to St. Jude's House.
Any questions?
That's it.
All right, thank you. Fairgrounds. Good morning.
John, thanks for sticking around and enjoying the meeting, seeing how the sausage is made.
Longer, but that's okay. Basically what I'm looking to do is I'd like to, have the appropriations for the community fund reestablished to our, budget for, building construction, reconstruction, other equipment. We do still have some lawnmowers and everything that need to be replaced, and definitely have a lot of different things at the fairgrounds that need to be maintained and taken care of, painting, new picnic tables, tuck pointing, different small items that we can utilize this money in.
Yeah.
Yeah, cum cap,
Don't we place all the, well, we still make an appropriation? Or-
I talked to Scott about this too, and there's money there to do this, so I'm in support of it.
Okay. Scott, I thought we posited all the cool cap dollars, what's, but hasn't been, planned, that we place that in the commissioner's budget and then they just do the POs from there. No, they still come here for the appropriation, each department?
Thanks, Scott.
Yeah, so historically, fairgrounds received this exact budget, $130,000 in cum cap.
Okay.
This year in the 24 request, it wasn't there. So given that it was not there as requested, they didn't receive it. So it was an oversight along the way that it wasn't requested, and they need those funds, or they're requesting to use those funds, and the money is there and it's available.
Thanks. I was more or less questioning the procedure, why it was on our agenda.
Yeah, that's what we do in our budget, but
Yeah,
for some reason that was oversight, it wasn't in.
okay. All right, anyone have anything else? Thank you.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Have a good day.
Thanks, John.
Lake County Commissioners. No one here? Anyone
This is-
online?
I could speak to it. This is to pay Baker Tilly for the Oracle optimization. It's going to be probably about 2.4 million. Included in that is also managed services, so it's one big contract.
Anyone have any questions, comments? Okay, thank
Was
you.
Baker Tilly, I do have a question. I was one of the few unfortunate people that got totally jerked around here by our payroll department and filed my taxes in a timely manner. And then this morning, an issue from payroll yesterday, who blames everybody in the world, that my W-2s were incorrect, which I didn't find out until yesterday. And there was a total lack of communications from that department to everyone that works in this building, and it's a shame. And I would hope that we reconsider how we do business here, and if appropriate, I would make a motion at this budget cycle that we put out for bid, someone take over and run data processing. Second.
Well, data didn't always control payroll, did they? I don't remember data.
I would go defer to the person that's been the
So, I think we
standing
gotta
longest to
find
be right.
Yeah, how it used, huh? I don't know. I thought it was under the auditors, or is this data under the auditors, but
Yes, the payroll is under the auditor, and they diverted and gave that responsibility to data processing and created their own payroll department. Correct, Scott?
we just.
That is accurate. Cenafax manages central payroll, which is our data processing.
Okay,
But how do we resolve this tax issue, this W-2 thing? It's all,
yeah.
it's
Well,
out
that's a
there.
good point, Charlie. If any one of us in this that are employees now have to pay fees to go to our accounts, I've already filed, signed, it's electronically filed, it's out there. In order to prevent an audit on myself now, I'm gonna have to pay money for that. So who's accountable for that? Whose fault is it? Do I have to pay that additional? I mean, I'm willing to, but it seems wrong. Maybe have better means to do that, but maybe some of the other folks this happened to don't have the means to do that.
Well, that's something that we're gonna have to look into, is who actually is responsible and who is liable for whatever the council may decide to do, or I don't even know if it's a council decision,
I don't think that's
right?
Chair.
So, right,
Real quick, if I could on this. because
Yes.
we can talk about it internally also. A lot of the county employees come to us as almost the police department of the county. And instead, this is a job for the commissioners. It's their department. So Matt or the commissioner should come to us and say, hey, here's how we solve the problem. Fiscal body, give us the money to do that. That would continue the process.
I thought we had an opportunity to take data.
We had data, and then they changed the law. They changed the law.
Who are they that changed the law?
commissioner, or well, we don't know.
Yeah.
We take that, the legislators.
So maybe we should have acted sooner than later, huh?
I warned them of it already.
All right, any further discussion on, yeah?
Yeah, but actually, how is this resolved? I mean, Tom just pointed out that we are not the police, but still it's out there and everybody's going to be requested by an employee or even in Ted's case himself about how is this thing resolved?
I don't think the council, and you guys are my clients, I don't think the council needs to own this. This isn't a council problem. We can help fix it because we control money. So if somebody comes to us and says, hey, here's a way to fix it, you all decide, yeah, that's a great idea.
Well, I think that's kind of what's going on here too. This seems to be part of this Oracle issue. So here's, a $3 million bill.
Yeah, and I'm kind of intertwined since I'm helping fix the Oracle issue. People have come to me about this W-2. And then my concern is I can give a suggestion, but then they'll say, well, the council said, and I'm really not the council. So I'm trying to stay out of suggesting even to the auditor's office.
I mean, this has been I think the little hammer hanging over our head from the start of this is one we had, and in my time kind of researching this, I've talked to a number of employees who said that the training was woefully insufficient. There was kind of and I wasn't here when it happened, but a go live date that we went live and people weren't properly trained yet. The balances hadn't been transferred. There were so many mistakes on so many levels here. And it's a shame that it's got to take $3 million to pay for something like this, that if it was administered right from the start, doesn't matter if it's Oracle or whatever other financial system, the approach that was taken to this was broken from the start administratively. And that's kind of how we got where we are. So I'm going to stand behind Scott on recommendations of this to fix the problem, but I think we really have to kind of put our heads in the game of looking at how these things are administered going forward, levels of accountability, different types of employment job descriptions. I mean, it's kind of a wholesale change. And if you implement the entire suite of products relative to Lake County within any financial management system, it's going to take certain skill sets to manage that data. So it's a complex problem. And we have to solve what's in front of us today before we start creating the larger fixes.
When we walk out of this room, I may be approached by Mary Smith, who works in the in the sheriff's office, who has a issue with this W-2. I want us to have a unified response rather than my saying, go see the commissioners or go see Oracle or whatever. What is a unified response from the county council? Our attorney has advised that it is not our issue, but yet it's going to be at our doorstep. It is at our doorstep. What is a unified response that we as councilmen, council person should have for a Lake County employee?
Well, maybe the answer would be to think about it and get back to us on Tuesday with that answer. I don't expect you to speak off the cuff, because right now, eat it, you own it. And to me, it's a violation of federal law that they got the W-2s wrong to begin with, and they should be held accountable. And personally, I feel that possibly if there is any cost equated to this by any individual, then Centefax should have to pay that. They made the mistake, not the county. Their contract.
Back to my original point. Before all of us leave this building, we may get an inquiry as to, hey, what happened with this? I don't want to pay this additional money. This is an employee of the county. What is a uniform response that we as council persons should say? Go see the commissioner?
They put out a letter. And if you haven't seen it about, but not to everyone, they should have billed us to the
The
council.
auditor sent out a letter, I believe.
I thought it was data. I'd have to go look on my desk. I'm not positive.
Yeah, I think it was.
And basically they said, here's the correction. Make the amendment. If you did TurboTax and did it on your own, do it, you could amend it. For some of us that have maybe a little more complicated situation and have accountants that handle that for us, then we're now subject to, if there is a fee, to pay that out of pocket. And that's the answer that we're given. I'm not in favor of that as an answer, but that's the solution, Mr. Brown.
County council business, we have I lost my. Appointments, Crown Point Library Board, I believe a letter was sent. We have also Veterans Memorial Parkway. Lake County Health Board expansion discussion.
Do you want to discuss that?
Yeah.
On that, I had sent everybody a memo about the fact that the law has changed. They've now, under this expansion of the funding, they've increased the board to 9 and given the county council 1 appointment. And that person needs to be a person with it's pretty wide swath. It's a person with medical knowledge or any member of the general public.
Yeah, we have received several resumes or a couple of requests, which are in the packet. If you want to read those, we can defer it from Tuesday.
Was it posted anywhere? Or is this just an internal memo that was?
It's been word of mouth. I don't believe I mean, it's on our website, so those who go on our website, I don't know if that was added to our website.
Yeah,
I don't think so. I think it's been word of mouth at this point.
Yeah, not really clear how we make the public aware of boards and commissions that are open.
We have it on our website.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's on our council website.
To me, if it
shows
has-
appointments and it shows.
If it hasn't been appointed or advertised on our website, we should at least give that some time.
Yeah, so
fair to
I was
people.
asked that we not make any appointments. It's not on the agenda for appointments.
That's fine.
We're just discussing.
Yeah, we're just discussing it. The next one is the resolution to pay previous year invoices and debts. I believe there was an opinion from State Board of Accounts that said that as long as the budget's been approved, that it is not necessary to have to do those resolutions through the auditor's office. So I'll have Tom look a little bit more into that. We can later down the road decide if we want to continue that practice. I mean, it does add some transparency. Or we can even place limits like, if the bill, the invoice is, like 3 months old, why, question why that's happening. Or a certain amount, a dollar amount, so that's just, something to think about. And I have nothing else in the agenda. You did it? Oh, yeah, or the bond, I can't see.
And the Veterans Memorial Parkway, Tim, did you have anything to add to that? I know you said.
I was just getting any questions.
Do we have all 15 members reapplied or? I'm trying to find it here, I can't.
Wow. There was 2 folks that left us a few years ago in October. That's why you had 2 appointments in October, and what Mitch is trying to do is get it back in line.
Okay.
Where every even year, every 2 years, it's a whole list of 50.
Okay.
Versus having it staggered, because staggered's even tough for us to keep track of.
Oh, can we do that?
Because-
Oh.
It used to be
Ordinance
that
say we
way.
can do it that way, because our ordinance, I don't have a copy of the ordinance. in the
Yeah.
agenda, But the ordinance should set out how the appointments are.
Yeah, it's like you're appointed, you serve either a balance or you serve the full term. So we gotta look at the ordinance.
Yeah, but that, all he was trying to do is get it back to where it was, where it's every,
When was it like that?
oh, it's been that way
it
for
always
years.
was
The only time it had a gap was when somebody left us.
Oh, so maybe the last 2 appointments should have just been for the remainder of the term. And I don't know if we-
Exactly.
I don't
And
know
what
if that was-
happened was they were appointed for 2 years from October.
Yeah, and I don't know if we could have done that, but if we could have, that's the way it should have been
Yeah.
done. We can probably correct that.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Because we had always done it every 2 years, always on the even years, as far as I've been involved since 2016.
Okay.
So
Oh, you had someone who passed away also.
that's correct.
what it
That's
was.
what caused that.
Yeah, my good friend. Yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
Correct.
Okay,
But that's all I had with that one. Thank you.
okay, thank you. Okay, now back to the commissioner's ordinance approving bond proceeds.
Is this,
Madam Chairman, this is the ordinance that actually appropriates the $32.5 million into the line item called construction and reconstruction. The ordinance creates that line item and then appropriates the funds into it.
this for the sewer project?
Yes.
Okay. All right, anything else? Anyone have anything else? Right,
Busy, not leaving.
right, thank you.
Will we have time to advertise for the executive session?
If you guys give me direction to advertise for it.
Yeah, well,
What time?
when do you want to have that? Before Tuesday?
Before the meeting is at 10, so if we met at
I don't-
9:30
I don't know that.
or immediately following it. There's time because it's not an appropriation, it's just advertising
When
in
it-
48 hours.
When do you want to have that? Before when?
Tuesday's meeting, today's Thursday.
Why
Friday.
Tuesday's meeting?
Because we're all here.
Oh, because we're all here Tuesday.
That makes sense.
I
We
think
could do it
it would be
immediately
good.
following or immediately.
I'll work with Tom on a date.
Following might be better because I think we're likely to kind of get into some in-depth discussion about
Well,
some of this.
yeah, I'll talk.
But either way, so I figured we're all here.
I wasn't aware you knew of what was going on with Bill Jason. I mean, it was confidential, so I really didn't know. All right,
Why would that be
meeting start.
confidential? That's a
Thank you.
big question, why that wouldn't be shared when we made an offer